America, we got to get back to doing what's expected of us as free citizens in this democracy. That means being tolerant, being respectful, staying informed, and being engaged. I'm former Congressman Joe Walsh. Follow me here and join the millions of Americans who are renewing their social contract with each other. The social contract, it's on us. Hey, you know, if you listen to me and you follow me, you know that I think we overcomplicate things, right? It's a familiar theme of mine. We overcomplicate shit. We make things way, way more complicated than we should. Life generally is a hell of a lot more simple, a hell of a lot simpler than we make it out to be. I think politics is that way. I think life in general is that way. I think the answer generally to most things is staring us in the face. I think the answer generally to most things in life is pretty simple and pretty straightforward. Occam's razor, you've probably heard of. It's one of my favorite principles. Occam's razor. Google it, look it up if you don't know it. OCCAMS. Long time principle that says, you know what? The simplest answer is usually spot on. The simplest answer is usually the best answer. The simplest, most logical answer, odds on, that's going to be the answer. And I think that's generally right. Like we wake up this morning to another outrageous pick from Donald Trump. Trump picked to be the number 2 guy at the FBI, a guy named Dan Bongino. There he is, longtime podcaster, right-wing conspiracist, Dan Bongino. He's a right-wing radio guy. He's a right-wing media superstar, been that way for a long, long time, because like all successful right-wing media stars, I used to be one, he spreads a bunch of bullshit, right? Dan Bongino believes the 2020 election was stolen. Dan Bongino believes the FBI was behind behind January 6th. Dan Bongino believes in the deep state. Dan Bongino has been really successful as a right-wing talker because Dan Bongino has spread a bunch of right-wing conspiracies. And Donald Trump this morning just made him the number 2 man at the FBI, behind Kash Patel, right? Behind the number 1 man at the FBI, who is a right-wing conspiracist, who believes January 6th was an FBI inside job. You can get rid of Dan Bongino there, Keith. And people are like outraged this morning. Why would Trump do this? Why would Donald Trump break, by the way, 117 years of FBI tradition? It's been the tradition at the FBI for 117 years now that the number 2 man at the FBI is always a current special FBI agent, an on the books agent right now. And Kash Patel, the number 1 guy, supposedly promised to the FBI that he would follow that tradition and pick a current FBI agent to be the number 2 guy. Patel obviously lied. So now we've got 2, think about this, 2 right-wing conspiracists who believe the FBI is the enemy. The FBI is the deep state. And these 2 guys are running the FBI. No! And everybody's hair is on fire. What is Trump doing? Occam's razor. The simplest answer is the right answer, is the best answer. So Donald Trump picked two guys to run the FBI who despise the FBI, believe the FBI is the enemy, and want to destroy the FBI? The simplest answer: Donald Trump believes the FBI, our FBI, your FBI, and my FBI is the enemy, and Donald Trump wants to destroy the FBI. It's the simplest answer. He's put people at the head of the FBI who believe the FBI is the deep state. Why would Trump do that? Occam's razor. The simplest answer: Trump believes the FBI is the deep state. Now, I know that the simplest answer oftentimes, especially with somebody like Trump, is really hard to wrap your arms around. Because if you buy Occam's razor in this case, look, the simplest answer is the best. Trump put Kash Patel to head up the FBI. Kash Patel is on record as saying our FBI is the enemy. Why would Trump do that? Well, again, simplest answer: Trump believes the FBI is the enemy. That's hard to wrap your arms around, because you have to acknowledge that the President of the United States believes that our FBI is the enemy. Well, it's hard. Oh my God. That's hard to accept. That's difficult. That's a difficult truth to embrace. But it's the simplest answer. And it makes the most sense. And oh, by the way, it's consistent with everything Donald Trump has said. Were people not paying attention? Were people not paying attention during the campaign? Have people not been paying attention to Donald Trump these past 7, 8, 9 years, ever since he won in 2016? Trump believes the FBI is the enemy. Trump believes the FBI has been after him. Trump believes the FBI made up all the Russia collusion shit. Trump believes all of that. Trump believes he's been targeted. Trump has said over and over and over and over that this deep state has been after him. They got to go down, Trump has said. He said it during the campaign. The FBI needs to be taken down. Of course, this is the correct answer. The simplest answer. Donald Trump said repeatedly he was going to seek revenge if he got reelected against the FBI. Against, by the way, the DOJ, the Justice Department. Against, by the way, the Defense Department, the military. Against, by the way, the intelligence community. Donald Trump has been very public that he believes all of these agencies, all of these departments are part of this thing they call, Bongino calls, Kash Patel calls, the deep state. They've been after him. And now, as president, Trump has declared war on the FBI, the Justice Department, the military, and the intelligence community. Friday night, right? The purge. Donald Trump purging top leadership in our military. Why? Trump believes the military was after him. Trump believes the military is bad. The simplest answer is usually no, is almost always the best answer. Why would Trump pick Kash Patel and Dan Bongino to head up the FBI? Why would Donald Trump pick originally Matt Gaetz to be Attorney General, then Pam Bondi to be Attorney General? Why the fuck would Donald Trump pick Pete Hegseth, a 19-year-old Fox News weekend TV host, to head up our entire Defense Department. Why would Donald Trump pick Tulsi Gabbard, a Putin cheerleader, to head up our intelligence community? The simplest answer is usually the best answer. Donald Trump believes these agencies and departments are bad. They're our enemy. They've been after him, and they need to be destroyed. So he picked people to run these agencies who would destroy these agencies. Deep state, deep state. Come on now. Occam's razor, the simplest answer is right in front of you. Deep state, deep state, deep state. If you believe, if you believe there has been some deep state that's been after Donald Trump for the past 9 to 10 years, then you love this. But this is what Trump believes. So he picked people who believe there's a deep state. These are the people he picked. I know it's hard to get. I know it's hard to accept this very simple truth. I saw so many people like outraged this morning to hear Dan Bongino's name, the number 2 guy at the deep state, at the FBI. And I just laughed. I said, this makes all the sense in the world. What's the simple? Come on now. What's the simple answer? Of course, Trump would pick Bongino. Trump believes the FBI's. Trump believes that, like the current president of the United States, think about this, believes that the FBI, our FBI, is the bad guy. I mean, you can believe the FBI needs to be reformed. You can believe the FBI has some bad agents. You can believe the FBI's made mistakes, on and on. You can believe that. I believe that every department of government, you can say the same thing about. You can believe all of that. But as an American citizen, do you believe that our top law enforcement agency is our enemy? Do you believe that? Do you believe the FBI is our enemy? I want to believe most Americans don't believe that. I know Trump believes that. I know Kash Patel and Dan Bongino believe that. I know most of MAGA believes that. But I don't think most Americans believe that. The simplest answer is the best answer. Donald Trump's picked these people, Kash Patel, Dan Bongino, Pam Bondi, Tulsi Gabbard, Pete Hegseth, because he believes these departments and agencies are our enemy and they need to be taken down. He believes that they have been going after Trump all these years. So Trump now is going to exact revenge on them. And Patel and Hegseth and Gabbard and all the rest, they will carry out Trump's revenge. Yeah. The president of the United States wants to exact revenge on our military, our FBI, our Justice Department. Hard to get, but it's there. That's the right answer. He's doing it at the FBI. He's doing it at Justice. He's doing it with our military, Trump is, and he's doing it with our intelligence community. And again, what we know is this. That's the answer. That's the why. What we know is what he's doing will make America less safe and less secure every single day. Because the FBI is not our enemy. Russia is, China is, a bunch of bad actors around the world are. a Hamas is, not our FBI, not the men and women who work for our FBI, the men and women who work for our Justice Department. They're not America's enemy. The generals in our military who Trump doesn't like, they're not our enemy. But because Trump is, and again, Occam's razor, if you set out to destroy the FBI, you will make America less safe and less secure. It's the job of the FBI to help keep America safe and secure. You weaken the FBI, you decimate the FBI, Americans are going to die. I love to say that to people because Americans are going to die because of what Trump is doing. Trump's war against our intelligence agencies is going to lead to Americans getting killed. Sorry, Trump's revenge tour against the men and women at our FBI is going to get Americans killed. Guaranteed. Sorry to say that, but it's true. It's true. Last point on this. This is on us. None of this should be a surprise. Kash Patel shouldn't be a surprise. Dan Bongino shouldn't be a surprise. Tulsi Gabbard, none of this should be a surprise. Trump said during the campaign what he was going to do. RFK Jr. shouldn't be a fucking surprise. Trump told us that during the campaign. Trump told us during the campaign he was going to declare war on the FBI, the Justice Department, the military, and our intelligence agencies. He told us that, and America still voted for him. Who you going to blame? You going to blame Trump? You going to blame Trump for doing what he said he was going to do? Or are you going to blame the American voter for not giving a fuck, for not giving a damn? Occam's razor, the simplest answer, is almost always the best answer. I was on CNN last week. I've been getting a little bit of shit for this. I was on CNN last week, and I called Donald Trump a Russian asset or a Russian plant. Keith, you got that clip?
Donald Trump is saying everything Vladimir Putin would say. Mm-hmm. And you mentioned the American people generally don't care about what's going on over there. The American president right now could be a plant, could be a Russian asset. I mean, think about that. Here I am. I know it's early in the morning to say something like that, but think about that. And if the American people don't care about that Putin might have something on Trump, that he's an asset, that he's a plant, that he's doing the bidding of Vladimir Putin, if the American people don't care about that,
well, the thing is, listen.
I'm sorry to get us off the topic.
We don't have evidence of that. I mean, the point about their positions being aligned is a different one. It's a different one.
Everything he's done, everything he's said for 8 or 9 years is exactly what Vladimir Putin would say and want him to.
Think about that. That was me on CNN last week. I called Trump a Russian asset, a Russian plant. Again, Occam's razor, Occam's razor, Occam's razor. The simplest answer is almost always the best answer. Everything Donald Trump has said and done the past 8 to 9 years is everything Vladimir Putin would say and do. So what's the simplest answer? Everything Donald Trump has said and done about Russia and about Ukraine is exactly what Putin would say or do, is exactly what Putin would want Trump to say or do. So what's the answer? Why? Why would an American president, mimic, ape, copy, repeat everything that Russian dictator wants him to repeat, copy, or ape? Why? What's another explanation? Why would Trump do nothing but spew Putin's talking points? What's another explanation? Give me another reason for this. Why would Trump sound like Putin every time Trump talks about Ukraine and Russia? And it's identical. He has. Why would Donald Trump say Ukraine started the war? Why would Trump call Zelensky a dictator? He's never called Putin a dictator. Putin's an actual dictator. Russia, by the way, Putin started the war. But why would Trump say Ukraine did? Why would Trump sit down with Russia to negotiate an end of the war and keep Ukraine out of it? Why would Donald Trump say the ugliest, meanest, worst things and lies about Zelensky this past week? Everything Putin would want Trump to say about Zelensky. Why would Donald Trump go out of his way to weaken NATO? Why would Trump say he wants America to get out of NATO? Why would Trump try to break up the European-American alliance, something Vladimir Putin is dying for Trump to do? The simplest answer is the best answer. Donald Trump is compromised. Putin has something on Trump. I suppose Putin has always had something on Trump. The best you can say based on the record, if you want to keep it really simple, is that Trump is pro-Putin. I mean, you can't deny it, right? Like, again, focus on what would be the simplest explanation. Donald Trump is siding with Vladimir Putin. That's a fact. You explain it to me, but that's a fact. In this fight between the aggressor, a dictator who engaged in the largest invasion against a nation's sovereignty in Europe since World War II, why would Trump side with the aggressor, the dictator, and not side with the free world, with NATO, with freedom, with democracy, with the nation that was invaded? Give me another explanation. Trump's siding with Putin. The simplest answer is, I suppose you could say the simplest answer is Trump is just pro-Putin. And you could make an argument there because Trump is pro-dictator. Trump wants to be like Putin. Trump wants to be a dictator. Trump is pro-authoritarian. Trump sides with the bad guy authoritarians around the world. I get all of that. I suppose that's the most benign answer you can give is Trump just wants to be like Putin. He wants to be a dictator. But Trump's done this from the beginning. Do you know Donald Trump's never, ever, 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 ever said a bad word about Vladimir Putin? Never. Before Trump first got elected, never, ever, 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 ever said a bad word about Vladimir Putin. This has been going on for years. Why? What's the simplest explanation? Putin has something on Trump. Trump's done business in Russia. Trump's tried to do more business over the years in Russia. When Trump couldn't raise any money for all of his buildings and his developments, when he couldn't raise any money for years from American banks, who gave Trump money? Russia. Russian oligarchs gave Trump money. Even Don Jr. admitted that during the 2016 campaign when Don Jr. said, hey, we're getting almost all of our money now from these Russian oligarchs. Again, I know it's hard to wrap your arms around that the president of the United States is a Russian asset, is a plant. Yeah, I mean, I suppose just you could say he's just a helpful idiot for Putin. But I think the simplest explanation is always generally right in front of us. And I didn't blurt that out on CNN last week because I thought it would get me a click or two. I've said this before. I think people in the know that Trump is compromised by Putin. It makes the most sense. I understand it's really, really difficult to accept. But again, America, this shouldn't be surprising. Like if Trump were a Russian asset, and like with Tulsi Gabbard, the best you can say, why did the president of the United States pick someone who is a Putin cheerleader, no doubt about that, to oversee America's intelligence? I mean, a gift to Vladimir Putin, an absolute gift. Donald Trump right now is stabbing Ukraine in the back, holding Ukraine hostage to extortion, utterly kneecapping Ukraine. Putin is just sitting back, smiling. Give me another explanation. The simplest explanation is in front of us. The president of the United States is compromised by Vladimir Putin. Putin has something on him. Putin has probably always had something on him. I think part of what we've got to do, those of us in resistance to what Trump is we've got to have the courage to put the truth out there. We've got to have the courage to put what we believe out there, knowing it's going to be really difficult. But we're going to be faced, as we are right now, with everything Trump is doing, every outrageous, traitorous, treasonous, un-American thing Trump is doing right now. It's going to continue day after day after day. And if you don't fully embrace what we're facing, I don't know how we're going to defeat him. We have a very, 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 very bad man in the White House. A very bad man. We have a cruel, intolerant, pathological, lying authoritarian in the White House. We have someone utterly un-American in the White House. Face that. Deal with that. Accept that. Don't try to rationalize and come up with, well, maybe it's not that bad, Joe. Like I was at an event this weekend, speaking this weekend to a bunch of great Americans, principled conservatives, principled center-right folks at the Principles First Summit here in Washington, D.C. I spoke and I railed on about how, come on now, this is something unprecedented. We have a traitor, we have a tyrant in the White House. You've got to believe that and know that in your bones if you want to defeat it. And then Mark Cuban, businessman Mark Cuban, gets up after me and he kind of poo-poos all of that and says, you know what? Stop with all the fascist talk. Stop with all the tyrant talk. Focus on what we need to say to beat him. And I'm screaming to myself. And I walked out after half a Cuban speech because I don't want to hear that. I think if you normalize what this is, if you just think like Mark Cuban might just think that Donald Trump just says some bad things, but he's a great salesman, and we got to learn to beat him like salespeople. And I'm sorry, I don't want to hear that. If we don't accept the threat we face, we can't defeat it. If we try to normalize the threat we face, we will not defeat it. We have a really bad man in the White House. We have someone in the White House who's 100% compromised by Putin. Accept that. Accept it. You have to accept it in order to eventually defeat it. One final quick story, Keith, and then I'm done. I just read this morning. So just so you know what's going on with Doge right now. One example here, a 23-year-old and a 25-year-old Doge bros are overruling the Secretary of State and effectively shutting down all AIDS clinics in Africa. Good job, MAGA. Marco Rubio, the Secretary of State, had decreed that, remember USAID, Trump wants to gut, Musk wants to gut USAID. Marco Rubio, the Secretary of State, who knows how important USAID is, but he's kept his mouth shut. Rubio promised that aid to Ukraine and Syria would not be cut. And Rubio also promised that all aid and money to our PEPFAR program to combat AIDS and HIV in Africa would continue to be funded. A program, PEPFAR, our program, where we combat HIV and AIDS in Africa, Republicans and Democrats across the board have said how crucial and necessary this USAID program is. Rubio promised that money wouldn't be cut. But we've got 23 and 25-year-old Doge bros who are going into USAID's computer programs and manually checking boxes in the payment systems one at a time to defund PEPFAR and our AIDS clinics in Africa funding. So we right now, America, have 23 and 24 and 25-year-old bros working for Elon Musk who are going into computer systems and shutting off funding for AIDS clinics in Africa, even though the Secretary of State said that funding will not be cut off. Now, no matter what you think about our funding AIDS clinics, HIV clinics in Africa, this is no way, I think, to run a government, right? The Secretary of State says PEPFAR funding will not be cut. Elon Musk and his young bros go into the computer systems and just manually cut the funding. These kids do. And the result? A lot of kids, a lot of children, a lot of infants, a lot of women in Africa are going to get HIV, are going to get AIDS, and are going to die. That's the outrage. That's the biggest outrage. MAGA. I guess the second biggest outrage is these 23 and 24-year-old kids are the ones, Elon's punks going into computer systems. They're the ones making these life and death decisions, and not even the Secretary of State. Marco Rubio, I know you're without a soul, man, but really? Let's make it a good week. My email, joewalshwhiteflag@gmail.com, all one word, joewalshwhiteflag@gmail.com. No Kings, No Kings. Thanks, Keith. There's my email. Last thing, oneflaginitiative.org, all one word, oneflaginitiative.org. Go there, join our No Kings campaign. No Kings in America, baby. Let's make it a good week. Be brave. Be brave.
Thank you for listening. Remember to listen, share, and follow The Social Contract with Joe Walsh on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and everywhere great podcasts are found. And be sure to leave a 5-star review. This has been The Social Contract.